I forget who said it, but there's a quote that goes something like, we don't need a few people being perfect environmentalists. We need millions, and I'll say billions of people imperfectly engaging in this movement.
Sierra, you're a former professional skier. How did you get into environmentalism?
I grew up really close to nature. I lived in a small, and still live in a small ski town community. Growing up, I shared a bedroom with all three of my brothers, and so you can imagine I had a lot of incentive to get outside and be outside. I always was able to build tunnels in the yard in the snow and jump off the roof. And when I was in my early teens, things started to shift, and I had one teacher that at the time was talking about global warming and holes in the ozone, and I thought, this is so terrible, like we're gonna lose all my precious snow. To me, that was unacceptable. And so I started myspace.com/skiers against global warming almost 15 years ago. And that was my first foray into digital climate communications.
So how old were you when you started that?
I think I was probably 15.
Really young.
Yeah.
And did you have like a sort of a light bulb moment that really sort of triggered you to, make that decision?
Yeah, I saw a piece of data that said that my hometown could have 0 snowfall by as soon as 2050. My passion, my livelihood, and my hometown's economy ceases to exist.
Mm-hmm.
Seeing so little people talking about it, making action about it, I thought, I have to raise the flag on this one. I made a film called Melted, and it's an imagination of the future of the world if we don't solve the climate crisis. And it's done through the sport of skiing. And so we went to the Sahara Desert. It was crazy. We went out on camels into the desert and camped under the stars. And then they were like, we have to leave. There's a sandstorm coming in. And my filmmaker was like, no, we can't leave. We have to get the shots. Ended up being this apocalyptic sandstorm scenario.
I saw online that you also describe yourself as an imperfect environmentalist. What do you mean by that?
I mean, listen, we're all part of this world that is very imperfect, and we're all a part of the problem. And what I'm trying to say to people is that I know that I'm not a perfect person, and it's okay. And you can also be an imperfect person and still join the movement. You are welcome. My list is very long of things that I could be doing better, but there are things that I'm doing really right, and I really, really care. It's enough. I forgive myself for the things that I could do better, and I'm going to look towards progress and keep moving.
Do you maybe have an eco-fail that you'd be willing to share with us?
I do have an eco-fail. I co-founded an environmental organization called Plastic Free Fridays. And it's really simple. We invite people on Fridays to step into a plastic-free journey by refusing single-use plastics. But even being so passionate about avoiding single-use plastic and running this organization, I still all the time find myself looking down at a coffee cup with a plastic lid or getting takeout with plastic. And this is just a reminder that the system is kind of designed for us as individuals to fail as perfect environmentalists. So we have to be really forgiving to ourselves and forgiving to each other and continue to work towards systems change, because it would be much easier than constantly refusing if organizations and companies weren't providing it in the first place.
What's the one thing you'd ask us all to do?
I'd like to ask people to think about their big lever. What is it that you have access to or capacity for that is that big lever that you can pull? Are you really passionate creatively and you can do a design project that speaks to climate? Do you have access to social power, financial power? Where can you make the most movement? Not everyone needs to become a scientist. Not everyone needs to, run for a political position, but we all need to engage in the climate movement.
So what gives you hope working in the climate space?
I think what's giving me hope these days is how many people are joining the climate community. I used to feel like I was on an island alone screaming and no one was coming to help. And now everybody is so engaged, and it's a community that's doing something bigger than themselves. I'm from the United States, and we have a tendency to think really individualistic, which leads to the epidemic of loneliness, actually. But when you become a community-oriented person, an other-oriented person, it leads to really systemic climate action and support for each other's initiatives. And it's also just a beautiful way to live your life when you're in service to others, and you know that the community is also in service to you.